buy yourself a gun. What? Gun. What? Like a handgun. For personal protection. What if somebody tries to mug you? What? What if your government tries to throw you in a can? What? You're gonna want a shotgun. Oh. What? Or an automatic rifle. And a lot of ammo. Gun? Yeah, gun.
We're all set to riot. Buy a gun. Before you lose your Second Amendment. Buy a gun. They'll burn you out like you Waco. They'll stick your ass in a camp. Jackbooted cops in riot gear. Gonna kick your ass and laugh. The revolution is on its way. Better lock and load your AK. Buy a gun, 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 buy a gun. Before you wish you bought a gun. Buy a gun, 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 buy a gun. Before you wish you bought a gun. We're all set to riot. Buy a gun. Before you lose your Second Amendment. Buy a gun. They gave your money to the banksters. They stole your pension funds. It's time that we took to the streets. It's time we had our turn. A revolution is on its way, and the founding fathers would say, buy a gun, 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 buy a gun. Before you wish you bought a gun. Buy a gun, 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 buy a gun. Before you wish you bought a gun. Revolution's not clean and neat, you gotta riot in the streets. Revolution's not clean and neat, you gotta drag them through the streets.
It is Tuesday. We are live. This is PrimerTime on UCY.TV. My name is Michael, and I'm recorded this month. About the future.
Yeah, I'm Nicholas, and I'm equally concerned. However, not quite disgruntled because I still need a paycheck.
Yeah, paycheck is nice. It's going to be interesting when the paycheck of today buys nothing in Weimar America, which I think is rapidly approaching. Some things that would concern us as firearms owners would be self-defense, and Royal Bank of Scotland putting out a memo saying sell everything. Yeah, that kind of should be somewhat of a.
I would say that's an indication of possible concern.
Yeah, I think that should lead every good firearm owning American to sort of take a moment and think about what your situation is, and if you are not a firearm owning American, you happen to be listening tonight. Maybe you should become one and listen to the theme song that we have, which is by the Gitmos, an awesome band. You can find them on YouTube and SoundCloud. But which we steal their work unabashedly, by the way.
Yeah, but we give them credit, so it's not like we're claiming it as our own.
And we're totally like my sponsorship deal with Block is so totally paying off for me right now.
Yeah. So I wanted to go ahead and get some info from a friend of the show, Oddball. He's dropped the knowledge bomb that in the city of Chicago, there has been over 100 killings in the first 12 days of 2016.
Yeah, Chicago is a city that couldn't be more proud of if you were the president. The shining beacon of the United States. Pretty much the cause celeb that's ignored for firearms control. It gets no play at all during as a Catholic would say, during regular season.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I believe that
during the playoffs,
the city of Chicago has given up gun control for Lent, apparently, because they've decided to go ahead and just let everybody shoot the shit out of each other, which is no different from any other time of the year.
Really, and honestly, the demographics show kind of a decided skew in one direction or another. Um, the areas that these shootings occur in are not necessarily high dollar areas. These are
Yeah, you're not going to find this in the shopping districts. You're not going to find this in the financial district. You're going to find these in the areas where I believe it's the south side of the city, to quote the Blues Brothers. It's where the heart and the soul of the city is, real salt of the earth, folks. Right?
it's probably where all the Illinois Nazis hang out.
Yeah. So
Yeah, that's my guess.
the interesting thing is that tonight
Because
being
we might as well, because they never mention any sort of demographics about this.
Oh, no. You can't do that.
Absolutely not.
You can't do that,
then
because that would indicate
really
where the actual
focuses,
problem exists.
right. We then focus off the gun control issue, the inanimate object that is now suddenly this demonized thing. We focus on other areas that really have a much deeper impact on gun violence, which is kind of a misnomer because it's all violent. Because I'm sure that for every firearms related death in Chicago, there's probably an equal amount of traumatizing violence to those 100 amounts of deaths, 10 times over. I'm sure there's stabbings, beatings, pimpings, whorings, whatever it takes to make that underworld function.
Well, it's
because
the funny thing.
Really, in the end, it's because there is no legal recourse. There's no other recourse in the illicit world to take care of an issue. So the firearm is there, and so that kind of like points back right at the drug war. Because honestly, if let's just be stereotypical, if Pedro sells a of cocaine Daquan so he can pick it up, and he finds out that it's been stepped on, well, they can't take it to small claims court or anything. Small claims court is actually small caliber court.
Yeah. Well, the commanding general of the USS White House is apparently on the telly. And he's
at this moment.
Yeah, at this moment, and he's got a conspicuously placed empty seat in the First Lady's box at the State of the Union address, and noticeably absent for all victims of violent crimes committed with a firearm. Yet there isn't any empty seat for the folks who were killed by senseless acts of automobile violence or senseless acts of medical malpractice. The funny thing is that.
Well, what about how about an empty seat for all the Americans killed by police violence this year?
Oh, yeah,
I
would have half
numbers
expected
will
that.
rival Chicago. I'd like to see the number of Americans killed by police this year versus the number of Americans killed in Chicago over a weekend. I bet you those numbers would be very close. I would almost imagine. I don't have any access to those numbers, but
yeah. Well, I mean, when you look at it like this, at least where I'm at, I'm fairly close to the D.C. area, and we hear about who's going to be invited, who the president's going to have sit with the first lady, and yada yada. There's going to be a military veteran that's a former refugee. There's going to be a refugee who's a scientist from Syria, and this is genuinely the president's last opportunity to come before both houses of Congress, the Supreme Court, and his assembled Joint Chiefs of Staff to say what great shape this nation is in.
How do refugees feel about basically the ghetto loophole?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they exploit that pretty well. And as Oddball says, Syrian lies matter.
Syrian lives matter. Well, you know what? In the end, don't all lives matter? Because that's really all we get is all lives.
Yeah. And I want to bring everybody back to the Bernie Sanders on the campaign trail earlier this summer when he was drowned out by the Black Lives protesters who took over the stage he was appearing at, and then certainly when Martin O'Malley committed the cardinal sin of liberal Democrat ideology when he said that all lives matter in front of a packed house of black liberation. And I think that there's a little bit to it. You've got you've got a Democratic National Committee that is basically going to offload the head Jewess in Wasserman.
Yeah, but they're going to replace him with another tribe member.
Well,
Because,
and that's the interesting thing.
Nova is another tribe member, so I mean it's business as usual.
Well, but before her was Howard Dean.
Well, Howard Dean screwed up and he became a soundbite.
Well, I mean he is a soundbite, but when you think about it, quite the same with Wasserman Schultz. When less than a year ago she was on every single show as saying why the Democrats were going to maintain control of the Senate and the House.
In the end, I have to look at like what the big pushes are, and right now the push is to disarm the American people and to support the Israeli agenda, and I don't think that those two things are a random coincidence. I think those two things go hand in hand.
Yeah. Well,
And I see it nonstop. Let's just with Senator Tom Cotton, who was just recently revealed to have received $960,000 plus dollars. I think it was like $960,470 or something like that. And he's the guy who said, basically is trying to pick a fight with Iran single-handed.
Well, yeah, and speaking of picking a fight with Iran, I think, of all the things to have happen, the eve of your State of the Union, when you're supposed to be touting, you're supposed to be touting
a little winter.
Yeah, you're supposed to be touting the great strides and the historic accord that's been struck with Iran to bring them into the community of nations and get them to abandon their desire to reprocess heavy metals for nuclear enrichment.
Which, let me ask you a question. Iran isn't like necessarily a broke country to make oil has been real money for a long time. If they really, really wanted a bomb, why didn't they just buy one from Ukraine or something when the wall came down?
Krablapistan.
Yeah, from Krablapistan, somewhere in a place where they write and squiggle and, have a sickle and a hammer on their flag.
Well, it's a sad thing.
They got enough money to do it. They probably got somebody there knows somebody over there. Why didn't they do that? That, to me, that makes much more sense than having to build this ambitious program that comes out of nowhere and threatens the entire world. Honestly, they've been 6 months away from finishing a bomb for 25 fucking years.
Yeah, but the funny thing is that proliferation is an interesting thing because you don't necessarily have to have the materials in order to proliferate the knowledge, and that is one of the big problems that we have. Is
Christ, hope they don't got 4G LTE and
they got to have better text message capability than AT&T, because I'll tell you what, it takes me 5 minutes to send a picture message with AT&T, so we're not getting them as a sponsor either.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, so yeah, I just wanted to hit on Michael. I just wanted to hit on this. This bit of knowledge that we've got 10 U.S. Navy sailors that have been taken as uninvited guests with the government of the Islamic Republic of Iran after having suffered engine malfunction or engine troubles in the Persian Gulf en route from Kuwait to Bahrain, and their small craft drifted into Iranian territorial waters. This is something that the Secretary of State is very engaged in and personally communicated with the diplomatic corps from Iran, and he's been assured in short order that these sailors will be returned, as well as the equipment that was captured with them. What more of a black eye could you get than
Iranian? What are our Iranian?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. That whole area of the Persian Gulf, for anybody that hasn't been there, it's a maritime boundary. So this is a dotted line on a map that, unless you've got a GPS,
right. It's a show, Nick. It's an absolute show. It's an absolute show.
But this isn't the first time that's happened. A few years back, the same thing happened with British sailors in the same area. So you
almost honestly can't fault them. I mean,
no, certainly you can. Certainly you can, because you know what?
Let me ask: Would we treat the same?
I look at it this way. We operate with GPS. We operate with every technology or technological advantage known to man. And you mean to tell me that, number one, the maintenance on those boats or those watercraft were so suspect that it was a possibility that they broke down? Well, guess what? If you're on small watercraft and you're in open ocean and you have the possibility of straying into a hostile nation, for all intents, into their territorial boundaries, and you don't have a larger ship shadowing you to provide you cover, well, that's a failure of command. And it's a failure of command to exercise due caution for the lives of those service.
Okay, so is it a failure of command, or is somebody deliberately trying to pick a fight? Because this is obviously an American craft that really can't cause any sort of major damage. I mean, I guess it probably could. They probably could have a Stinger missile or something on it. And,
well, you never know.
Jam that into a tank or some shit like that. But if the situation was reversed in the old Iranian boat, whatever it is, their 14-foot John boat with a 48 horsepower engine on it or something, and a 50 cal. If it's straight into American water, what would we do? We'd probably take them guys and make them uninvited guests for a while, and
check when you look at it this way,
see what kind of radio they got on it, and
we've had that example. We've had that example with the United States Navy again. Being involved in a air-to-air collision with a Chinese fighter jet, and being forced to make a unscheduled emergency landing on Hainan Island.
Oh yeah, dude, our boys screwed up there. They didn't destroy all that shit in that plane.
No, they did not.
They fucked up big time. I'll say that as an American citizen, they fucked up big time.
Yeah. So
they gave all that main
problem that I see here.
Big deal. Big deal. The Chinese can hack anything. They already got everything. The Chinese got it all already. If it's on a computer, the Chinese got it.
Yep. So if you got Facebook,
and that ain't no lie.
If you've ever had an investigation conducted with the U.S. government for any type of employment, oh yeah, they got you.
They've got everything. They've got they probably got everything, Nick. Anything that's on any kind of computer record the Chinese have. And not only the Chinese, the Israelis probably have it too, which means the Russians have it.
Oh, certainly.
The Israelis probably sold it to both the Chinese and the Russians.
Yeah.
Because since they're our friends, and with friends like that, who needs any kind of enemies.
Well, but that, like I said, I just wanted to finish up that thought that as we have the president who is going to outline his policy successes and therefore set the stage to implore the electorate of the United States to continue giving him a third term by way of a Democratic successor, you got to kind of look and see what really he's done. We have hollow markets, and yet you'll hear that, the economy is the strongest it's ever been. Well, not when you're taking 400-point losses for a week solid on the Dow Jones. You're going to talk about how we've made historic accords.
Royal Bank of Scotland today came out and said that, fill everything.
Yeah.
That's kind of like a line out of trading places.
Yeah. Yeah, we're back
You
in
know,
business,
but,
Mortimer.
yeah, no, I don't think so. You're going to be back in business, Chang.
Yeah.
Chang will be the part of Mortimer will now be played by Chang.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I think the game's over, man. You know, I mean, Royal Bank of Scotland ain't no bullshit operation.
Yeah.
You know, and then that leads to like questions about the United States. There's news reports tonight that say that oil's going to hit $10 a barrel. All right, well that's like the price from when I was a child.
Yep.
You know, and the economy's not improving. Crime is on the rise in many places. I mean, Chicago's a friggin' shoot fest, and so I think that kind of goes along with other issues. Now is the time to buy a firearm.
Certainly. And speaking of buying
Yeah,
a firearm,
gun hole loophole, gun show loophole. Please do exploit it multiple times.
well, let's take that misnomer out of the box. Talking about gun show loopholes, the loophole that they're trying to state is that if it's a person-to-person sale inside of the same state, the one side of the argument says, well, you should have to conduct, if you're not a dealer, you should have to be responsible for conducting a background check. When the fact is that exactly with interstate commerce, which is what the law specifically calls for, is that whenever a firearm is being sold across state lines, whether by mail or by internet or whatnot, the seller on the receiving end, which is going to be the person who effects the transfer, must conduct the background check. Case in point, today I just received a lower receiver for an AR-15. The person who acts as the FFL in my case does the ATF form 4473, goes ahead and gets all my information, and then in addition to that, fulfills the state requirement of going ahead.
It's not radicalized and possibly a member of an LK.
Yeah. So in addition to that, he makes sure that he does the state required background check telephonically, which gets done near instantaneous. I think I was at the counter for a grand total of 15 minutes, and most of that was him and I filling out the actual paperwork so that he has a record for his log.
That's kind of nice that he goes over the paperwork with you.
Yeah, he does, and the fact that he's a small town guy, and I got a chance to. He let me take a look at his firearms register for all the FFL transfers that he's affected. The last time I utilized his FFL service was February of last year. Only one other individual in my community has effected a transfer through him in over a year.
Wow, that's kind of interesting.
It is, and kind of speaks to either the number of people
really,
in my community that decide they don't want to go ahead and either purchase a gun, or I don't think we're that small a town. But the fact is that he's more than happy to go ahead and continue doing this because I'm giving him the practice that he needs to stay fresh on his requirements to conduct background checks with the state, as well as him filling out the appropriate paperwork for the ATF.
All right, so I just say, so you're supporting patriarchy and keeping the man down by helping the guy stay within the rules.
Yeah, I am.
Honestly, if Royal Bank of Scotland says sell everything, we're not that far from like Molotov cocktails and shit like that in the street.
Well, that I don't think we're that close.
Shocked at Gary, Indiana.
I don't think we're going to get to throwing Molotov cocktails until the EBT cards stop working.
Oh, I think that's part of sell everything.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that when on the first or midnight on the 31st, when the EBT cards don't come active, or service is disrupted for a period of a week to 10 days, yeah, that's when I think you're going to see cause for concern. And in the meantime,
well, I think that kind of comes with sell everything by RBC, because like it's not just RBS, Royal Bank of Scotland. It's not just Royal Bank of Scotland that said that. I believe JP Morgan said something, and JP Morgan is kind of interesting because JP Morgan is the company that administers the food stamp program. They're the bank that is behind the food stamp card, right?
Well,
So if both of those companies say kind of like dump everything, this shit's going to hit the fan. Um, that's kind of like almost a cause for concern, and I mean that could lead to unrest in the streets. It could lead to nothing more than massive inflation.
yeah. Well, I think when you're worried about your free phone, you trying to get your food stamps and trying to get your all the other benefits, whether it be health care, whether it be free education via Common Core and your local community with vouchers and waivers and whatnot. I think that what this opportunity for the president to do, he's got a limited window. He has so much in order to really convince the American people why they should elect somebody who's going to act as a third term, and really give his presidency a stamp of approval. And I think that as it is for most presidents, I think you cannot define their presidents or their presidency in any kind of near term timeline. I think that
the only really thing you can define a presidency by is how many Americans died in some sort of overseas action.
see, and I don't even feel that that's the case. I don't feel that's the case because you've got Tavis Smiley, who is a learned black man, who's come out and said that in every facet of American life, the black man has suffered under this president, and that's an inconvenient truth. And Tavis Smiley is not known for pulling any punches. He has a line and he'll stick to it, but he's not afraid to call folks out.
Well, and he's not necessarily a right wing pundit.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And so the funny thing is here is that you're gonna see the president say why the nation is in good hands. It's like it's going to be an Allstate commercial for an hour and a half with a lot of applause. I will be surprised because number one, I'm not watching it, so any propaganda that comes out of this,
Allstate, it's a big bullshit extortion scam because that's all insurance is.
Yeah.
Scam.
So
I honest to God, Nick, after perusing the news, working this last week, seeing a side of the U.S. that should be the great big booming area, and nothing is going on there. And as a matter of fact, it's a great big crash. Combined with this, I've got serious concerns, and I've got serious concerns that do relate directly to the firearm, as in, how are you going to keep these crazed, crackhead, unemployed motherfuckers out of your yard, out of your house, when the food stamps go off? And this is something that I think is rather close. I'll tell you what, we were the booming area 6 months ago, and we're not anymore.
yeah, the energy industry took a hit.
There's a lot of 2014 2500 series trucks out there for sale.
God, and I wish I was in your area because my 2008 Dodge Ram, which has only 76,000 miles on it, is not four-wheel drive, so I could definitely use an upgrade.
The trucks are for sale. All the RV parks related to the oil industry are kind of empty. All the hotels are empty. Walmart's only got 7 or 8 cars in the parking lot. A lot of sketchy people rolling around, and speaking to some people, crime is on the increase. And right now, it's petty crime. It's shit stolen out of the yard, when you're not there at night, something like that. But in times of crisis, that's just kind of like a canary in the coal mine.
Well, it is. It's an indication of the direction and the compass bearing on which the country is going. Black markets and gray markets don't exist without a demand for the products that they provide or the services that they provide. You can take a look on Craigslist. Look at the things that are being offered for sale, whether legitimate or shady. You'll see that in tough times.
We're adults here. We can take that a step further than Craigslist having shady stolen shit sold on it. let's take a look at Backpage, the real kind of market, which, honest to God, there's prostitute ads on there.
I'm sure both Craigslist and Backpage have the same thing.
Craigslist doesn't really anymore. They kind of have turned that off about 2 years ago. It's kind of all more focused towards, or Backpage has become like the leader in that. I don't think anybody looks at Backpage to like buy a four-wheeler, like, a sink upgrade. They go to Backpage for hookers. They go to Craigslist for items. And you take a look at it, and there's an interesting amount of women that are over 35, let's just say, that are
We'll call them seasoned.
Seasoned citizens, so to speak. Not necessarily a stripper looking to make a few extra bucks. This is somebody looking to make a house payment or something like that. That's on the rise, and that's a definite sign of the economy going in the toilet.
Well, which is interesting, because that was one of the things that was very common. That was very common in Iraq in 2003, 2004. Once American forces started moving in and taking up positions in Baghdad, and we got to interact with the populace, it's not too hard to figure out that when your man or your male wage earner in a family has either been killed or taken out due to either the sectarian violence or been the recipient of a AGM-114 Hellfire missile, those female heads of household have to resort to doing certain things to provide for their family.
That's been the method throughout many wars that happened in Germany after World War II. Christ, we're still there.
Yep. So, it's one of those things that I think that another sign of the impending apocalypse was a very popular firearms enthusiast on YouTube was taken off for a period of a couple hours. Hickok 45 was who basically makes one of the few video channels that I will enjoy watching, and it's not every one of his videos. Just when he reviews necessarily a firearm that I like. Sometimes I will watch him with other videos because he does have a pleasant manner. He's not obnoxious, and he smokes a lot of pot. Yeah.
I bet you he's probably got at least 400 pounds of terracotta shards all over his backyard from all the flim planters.
Yeah. Well, he did get back up and running, and he did post a video, and he did allude to some of his upcoming meet and greets that he hosts in Tennessee. So, he's back up online, and the initial speculation was that he was being targeted by anti-gunners. I'm not exactly sure what the final scenario came down to be, but I'm sure we'll hear about it.
If it even comes out to be any sort of kind of like, Google mix-up or something, you could still probably go with that. Google's not necessarily a firearm-friendly company.
No, certainly not.
It used to be that if you looked on Google and you typed in 9mm, you get a whole bunch of shopping ads. That doesn't happen now. No, if you type in 9mm into the Google search bar, you'll come up with like a headphone jack or some shit like that.
Yeah. Well, so that's one of the interesting things out there. Taking a look at what the gun control edict. I wouldn't even call it an executive action because the executive orders from the National Archives still doesn't have it published.
It's really not done anything other than give the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives reason to bulk up.
Yeah, and that's predominantly what the bulk of the action seems to consist of, is trying to add more than 480 agents to both the ATF and the FBI.
Which those 480 agents will be, I guarantee you, will be spread throughout the country, and they will be at every gun show. And
but that's not all 400 of them. That's probably an additional 200 officers that are going to be in the enforcement side, and another 200 we'll call them officers, but realistically they're administrative workers that are going to be utilized to process background checks.
Well, that's what we need. Is more. We need more admin on.
Well, how do you make people dependent on government? Make government bigger. You know.
Well, I think if that's all we can do at this point, because honestly, our economic production has been limited to making mobile homes, rap music, McNuggets, and war. And thank God we print the money, huh?
Yeah, well, it's better that we print it than somebody else.
Well, I believe that's coming to an end if RBS and JP Morgan are saying basically in concert selling everything.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. So, what's a good weapon for you for home defense?
Well,
like tonight, if you go out after the show and you go out to go pick up a fine pack of cigars at the Stop and Rob, and you come home or you get there and the ATM is not working. What are you going to come home and load?
Well, number one, everything will be loaded as far as quick access to magazines and whatnot. And the way I look at it is, number one, I'm not a guy that races to try and think that that's the first cause. So, but I do keep something on standby at all times, and it's something that I am proficient with. For example, this morning I went ahead and visited, like I said, I visited my local hardware store to conduct and finish a firearms transfer. Picked up a lower receiver from Palmetto State. From purchase online to actually receiving was just over 1 week. It was 9 days, and smooth, seamless transaction. Of course, did not have to pay an FFL fee. This is a small town guy, and he values my business, and he only charges me the $2 that the state of Virginia requires for him to do the telephonic background check and registration. So, went ahead and got it, picked it up, no issues. That's going to be getting turned into the 223 Wild.
That's cool. I think that's it. That's a good idea to have another 5.56 223 caliber rifle sitting around. You're quite proficient with it. You've got access to, supplies and whatnot for that item, if need came. I think that's something for people to consider if they're in the market for a firearm.
Yeah, and
something
certainly
I've seen recently is there's a load of 7.62 by 25 Tokarevs out there, and some CZ82s in the same caliber. And those are nifty pistols out there, and they're priced right for a first-time buyer. I mean, a lot of times they're under $250. And I'd almost caution against buying those because times have changed, and that ammunition is not necessarily a readily available commodity. At the price difference, I'd almost recommend saving up another $50 and buying like a SD9 VE from your big box store for like $300 or $319. I'm pretty concerned about supply chain if this is something that really is going to happen. I mean, sell everything is not a good idea, especially when oil is predicted to hit $10 a gallon.
I'm hoping so. I will take a photo the day that gas drops below $1. I will actually go and take a photo next to the pump sign, because I will tell you
that's one of those photos that ends up like in Life magazine.
Yeah, it'll be in black and white. It'll be in
right,
black.
Right. It'll be a black and white photo. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I can even remember when the last time I paid for gas was 99 cents in Tucson, Arizona at the Circle K. And I remember it because it was actually one of the first times that I was pumping gas and I ever had the pump mechanism that's supposed to stop when the tank is full, supposed to stop the flow of fuel, failed, and gas went all over my pants. I hated that day.
The day I remember paying more than $1 per gallon was the day after Saddam invaded Kuwait. That's the first time I paid more than $1 per gallon.
Yeah. So we've got an interesting.
It went from 88 cents to $1.05 overnight.
Yeah, and people
That was
didn't go nuts and burn down the republic either. So
well, yeah, but back then people didn't have half the access to information, right?
yeah,
CNN. Remember, CNN was grew at that point. It was nonstop, and they couldn't give us enough truth. We needed truth and freedom, and they were giving us both.
yeah. Well, next week we have the preeminent shooting exposition in our glorious nation. SHOT Show 2016 is coming up from the 19th to the 22nd of January at the Sands Expo Center in Vegas.
I am willing to go to the SHOT Show on anybody's dime who wishes to pay for it.
That's right. All we need is some media credentials, and PrimerTime will definitely have a on assignment reporter. And the interesting thing is that it's got
It'd
quite.
be nice if you gave us an expense account. That'd be really cool.
Dude, expense account. Dude, I'd be happy to sit next to some of those nice young sales ladies that they have out there. That's good enough for me.
That's an interesting point. Gaston Glock was the guy who originated hot sales ladies at the SHOT Show. When he first started selling Glock pistols in the United States, SHOT Show was a bunch of fat old dudes going around talking about their 700 Winchesters. And he changed it. He hired Playboy models to become proficient and knowledgeable about Glock.
Out of work Playboy models.
Well, like basically high end pharmaceutical reps.
Yeah. Well, and when you look at it, there's going to be 1,600 exhibitors, over 630,000 net square feet of sales floor space, and 62,000 industry professionals covering all 50 states and 100 countries internationally.
How many zombie-related items will there be for sale this year?
Yeah, there's not going to be any beef jerky there. I'm guaranteeing that.
Oh, I'll bet you there's the best beef jerky in the world at the SHOT Show.
Yeah,
I'll bet you that's Beef Jerky Emporium. They've got some master beef jerky maker out of Montana or something who makes it out of like eagle feathers.
Yeah, but he's got to be Native American in order to get the exemption on using.
Probably.
Yeah. So that's the thing.
So are you looking for anything new to come out of the SHOT Show? Because really, I've not seen anything new, heard of anything new that's coming out. I know Colt has a new model that is designed to compete with the M&P. It's a flat top. It does have a front sight post. It does not come with the rear sight. And I believe they call it the Colt Expand. And it's an M4 clone designed to compete with the M&P. It's coming in at $649. It's kind of a new item. I believe they're going to release that at SHOT Show.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything that's been in the works. Maybe a couple of the different competitors for the modular handgun competition might be out there showing their wares. You're going to see the latest and greatest gadget that you can attach to a Picatinny rail. But one of the things that I'm really looking forward to seeing is probably a refinement in some of the known vulnerabilities that different firearms have. Whether it's the Kel-Tec shotguns, whether it's any one of the known faults with the direct impingement, AR series rifles, whether it's another massive recall.
Well, yeah, I think that you can come up with many improvements on the said vulnerabilities, and let's take the M4 as an example. There's a bunch of people who've improved on the M4 and given it better capability, but none of them have been picked up by the military. Therefore, all of them are, just a different brand of soda. when the government is buying Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
So none of these things, unless they've got a, a serious radical departure improvement. Honestly, what I'm extremely surprised about, nobody's made an AK that takes a NATO magazine.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I think a lot of people that don't know,
AK-47 that takes a NATO magazine. That would sell like crazy. There's nobody that makes anything like that.
and there's a reason why. When you take a look at the taper of the actual cartridge for 7.62 by 39, it's significantly different than that of the 5.56. When you have the magazines for the AR-15 and you have the magazines for an AK-47 side by side, you'll notice that the AK-47 has a significant,
a more significant curve. I recognize that, but
exactly.
that issue realize really it won't work in a standard AK frame, a standard AK lower receiver. But somebody out there, I mean, there's a bunch of manufacturers. Why doesn't somebody make a lower receiver that actually accepts that magazine? That's not necessarily a great big problem to overcome, and it could be a stamped item.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting. Probably going to see some folks come out there with the different AKAR variants. I think that was kind of the rage a little bit last year, called the American AK. Some different small scale manufacturers may try to hybridize a little bit better. I have not seen the AK gas piston setup that is chambered in 5.56, and I know that they're out there, but I haven't seen those marketed as much.
Well, they are, but they all take a proprietary magazine. It's not a magazine that you find at Bud's gun shop or anything. This is something that you have to actually search out, and you may be limited to buying 5 because all the guy has is 7.
Right.
These aren't a high number, a military manufactured item, which has the contract that ensues that or ensures that however many million magazines the Stay Nag magazine have been produced, just for military contracts, let alone like the private industry that buys them. That guarantees that magazine is what you base your product off of. And something says that somebody out there should make an AK lower that takes that magazine, because really the rest of it is simple.
Yeah.
The rest of it almost all already exists. The problem is making that magazine fit, and somebody out there should do it.
Yeah, and we should take credit for it when they do.
I'll just take a copy of it. That'd be good.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's coming up to that time of year right now. Hunting season has wound down in most locations. The People's Republic of Maryland, I believe this is the last weekend. We've got squirrel, spring turkey will be coming up shortly. A lot of opportunities for you to go ahead and get some shotguns out of the closet and dust them off, get you some number 7 shot, and get ready for some thunder chickens.
So let me bring up some issue with the shotgun regarding what I had to say earlier, because I really do have strong feelings about what's coming up. If you've got a pump shotgun, let's just say an 870, because that's a very, very common shotgun, and it comes with the 28-inch barrel or 26-inch barrel or even a 32-inch barrel or 24-inch barrel, something that's a little unwieldy. Would you consider buying a secondary barrel and keeping that more as a home defense item rather than dedicated for hunting?
So
if you were in kind of a cash crunch?
So here's the thing. You can go ahead and you can go to any retailer, or usually, your big box stores will have them on the shelf, but you can pick up a spare barrel, and not even necessarily a spare barrel, but maybe you wanted to get a barrel with a cantilever scope mount. Remington has them for their 870s. Mossberg has them for their 500s. what you're really doing is you're effectively lengthening the service life of that shotgun. Now, each one of those barrels has a purpose, whether you're firing slugs or you're firing shot. These are typically not going to be short barrels. These are going to be longer barrels. So
Well,
to use them in a house may be unwieldy.
There are a number of 18-inch barrels that would not be available at the big box store general. They may be available at your local shop. That's almost unlikely anymore because I've found that the local shop doesn't like to sit on inventory anymore. Inventory is thrown away money.
Yeah, exactly. The longer it sits on the shelf, the less inventory that they can move in to take its place.
Right. Well, the less money that they're putting in their pocket in the end. So I've found that you have to find these items online. And there are a number of 18-inch barrels that are configured for different uses. I personally, there's an 18-inch barrel that is rifle for slug and has rifle sights on it. I really think that's a nifty idea.
Well, you can go that way with the Mossberg 930. The Mossberg 930 comes up with its ghost sights and makes a very practical shotgun.
That's a nice item. Mossberg 930 is probably looking at about between $450 to $600, depending on where you can find it on sale. The bad part is if you want to find some really, really nice ghost ring sights, which I think ghost ring sights on a shotgun are just tits. Those are just beautiful. I love them. A good set runs about $90.
Right.
And honestly, I could pay I believe it's about $125 for the rifled 18-inch slug barrel with a rifle sight on it from Mossberg, and I'd be just happy with that. Pop the plug out of it. And I've got 6 shots, and I've got a fairly decent delivery method other than a bead.
Yeah, and then you can also go ahead and get the tube extension, get you a couple extra rounds in there if you need.
The tube extension does 500. Works with the 870, but with the 500, it doesn't really work all that well.
Right.
It's not just necessarily a bolt-on part, screw-on part like it is with the 870.
Right.
The 500 takes a little bit, and that's one of the downsides of the 500.
Right. Well, and that's one of those things because you never know if it's the new 870 that's got problems or if it's an older 870 that you buy secondhand that's one of the better ones. You gotta be a little careful.
I'd almost say look for dinged up wood.
Yeah.
If you're really not familiar, look for dinged up wood. That's kind of a good sign.
Right. So, Michael, we have been talking up a storm. We'd be remiss if we didn't remind folks of the 4 rules of firearm safety.
That's right. All right. So this is kind of why I'm here. So rule number 1, every firearm is loaded until you physically and visually verify that it is not loaded. So go ahead and break it open, drop the magazine, crack the action open, make sure there is no round in the chamber. And there is no round in the chamber when you close the weapon. Rule number 2 is keep that muzzle pointed in a safe direction at all times. Don't cover anything you don't want to destroy. Rule number 3, know what your target is, know what's beyond your target. And rule number 4 is the most important. Please keep the booger hook off the bang switch. Do not put your finger on the trigger until you are ready to discharge the weapon. I can't say that enough.
Yeah. And
rule number 4 should be rolled, in the drama.
Yeah, and with the record amount of firearm sales, you can't overemphasize the importance of maintaining those 4 rules for safety for not only yourself but your family, especially if you got little ones at the house. You make sure that you go ahead and you get them spun up on firearm safety as soon as they're able to understand.
So, astronaut boy, I guess he's an astronaut.
Yeah, former astronaut boy.
He says that there's 350 million guns in 65 million locations. How much do you think that number has increased since he said that?
Oh well,
how many first time buyers do you think are out there?
There's been a lot more first-time buyers because I think that there was probably quite a few people who were on the fence about making a purchase and have been swayed one way or the other in the last couple of weeks.
I bet you that Scrupulous Buck could probably make some money selling like an old 38 Smith & Wesson revolver from like, one of those Victory revolvers and selling it off as like a 38 Magnum or 45 Magnum or something right now to the people who do not do their research.
Yeah.
I've seen attempted sales like that, people exactly not misrepresenting their item. One of the things that actually I've seen in my area recently was just like turn my crank in the absolute section. Was the guy selling a brownie? All right, I happened to be, like I know him inside out. I'm not the ultimate authority on him, but I know enough about him to know what's bullshit and what's not. And I was selling Charles Daly high power, and Charles Daly is a private manufacturer that really never really actually manufactured anything other than some single shot shotguns, but they put their name on a lot of imported items. They made contracts with other companies, and, imported, stuff from Croatia and Serbia and Hungary and blah, blah, blah. Well, they had contracted with FPG out of Hungary at one time and had made a high power, and they called it basically Charles Daly DJ9 HK, which was the same thing as Kaznar, and that was kind of what FEG designated as that, and that's a big long old story on the history of that high power. But this guy was selling it as a Charles Daly, but it was actually made by CZ or Smith & Wesson. He couldn't verify either one, and it was a very, very rare item, and he was asking $1,600 for it. Now, the Charles Daly high power, as I understand it to be, and I would say that I am 99.9% correct, that thing does not retail for any more than $400, and that's if it's brand new in the box, come out of the, DeLorean from, 1955 kind of a thing.
Right. Well,
so at that point, education on what you're looking at becomes very, very important, because in these times when the dollar is all that counts, the unscrupulous side will come out, and
right.
People will represent what they sell. Important thing to look at if you're looking for like a 22 revolver, especially, is go ahead and flip that cylinder out, or if it's like a break action revolver, go ahead and break it open or something. Make sure you take a look at that cylinder face. Make sure there's no dents in it. And dents, you'll be able to tell exactly what I mean if you see them. There'll be a series of dents in the cylinder face. That means that somebody has been sitting there pulling that trigger many, many times, probably pointing at the TV, and it may be out of time at this point, and the hammer and the firing pin may not actually touch the rim.
Yeah, the firing pin may not engage the primer.
And these may be people selling these things as rare items or something like that.
Rare is one of those things that always catches my attention when somebody tries to sell me a rare piece.
Well, unfortunately, what I've seen it a lot in is H&R Harrington Richards made a 22 break top revolver some years ago, and it was a nifty item. If you can find them in nice shape, they're really nice to have. It's 9-shot break action kind of nifty, but these things got abused, and they really haven't made one for a long time. So if you find them, it's going to be old, and I see it a lot in those, and I'd like to have one.
Well, Michael, we're getting to the end of the hour.
Oh, geez, we're very close. Nick, we rambled on.
Thanks, Jules. Thanks, listeners in chat. Michael, it's good to hear you again. We're going to do this again next week.
Nick, I appreciate you being here. Everybody, be ready.